Join us as 4 wastewater surveillance program manager leads share concrete ways they support utilities so that sampling is feasible, data are trusted, and action moves faster.
So early on, we learned that we needed to provide supplies and a courier to help utilities get wastewater samples to our lab for testing. They're providing this service in kind to us, and we want to make it as easy as possible for them. So that was key. Second, we have a wastewater surveillance coordinator whose role is to focus on utility relations. And so she spends time getting to know our partners at the wastewater treatment plants that are involved in wastewater surveillance. She talks with them about barriers to participation and brings those back to our team for discussion. And she shares how public health is using the data and the importance of wastewater surveillance. And then finally, we have an internal or a secure dashboard where we share data with our participating wastewater utilities and local public health partners 24 hours before the data is posted to our public dashboard.
We implemented what we call monthly update messaging. And so we send an email to all partners every month. So we have about 3 to 6 little short topics that we link to further information, and we send that to all of our partners, including the operators at the facility. From our interview with utilities, communication is really the most important factor. For example, the city manager is kind of over the whole thing, and then there's the public works director, and then there might be a wastewater manager or a lab manager, and then there's the operator. All of these people have different needs and desires for the levels of communication. So we try to be real cognizant of that. And we have a master contact list that has all of these people in addition to the county health people. Communicating how we value the utilities efforts is important also. And so in June, we had what we called a Utility Appreciation Week, and we got this idea from the Colorado group. And in that week, we sent a letter from the director of the Oregon Health Authority to the Public Works director of each facility. And the week entailed several press releases from both Oregon Health Authority and Oregon State University, several social media posts from those two entities. We also mailed them a jar with candy and mugs and stickers, and that went directly to the operators that could go in the control room. The
goal was to make sure this wasn't a burden to them as much as possible. We made it very, very clear what our goals were. We sent out many emails as well as phone calls. So a lot of communication up front, and we'd like to make sure that it's not a burden for you. So we want to coordinate with your normal regulatory sampling. So we don't want you to collect a completely separate sample, and we will provide all the necessary supplies, containers, shippers, etc. And that shipper is prepaid. So effectively all they have to do is when they're pouring off their samples for their regulatory purposes, they pour off another couple samples for us. Also recognize that that's still a little bit of a burden to the facilities. So we've tried to find ways to financially support the facilities. And after exploring multiple avenues, we finally found a way that worked. And so we are now giving each participating facility a $2,000 stipend for a thank you, and hopefully that will help defray some of the time that the operators put into shipping the samples for it. In terms of communication, we keep all the utilities and facilities informed of what we're doing. If we're going to explore a new pathogen, if we're going to change our strategy, we tell them. It's made clear to them how the data is being used. In terms of data sharing, we have a customized report that goes out to every facility every week, so that their data for that week and the preceding weeks is compared to historic data across the state. So they get that case data all packaged in a nice report. In terms of communication, we have this hotline that's plastered over everything that we send them, so they can get in touch with us.
Something that cannot really be overstated is to really have an awareness of that burden that you're asking your utility partners to take on, and try to minimize it as much as you can. Keep that level of what you're asking them to do to be small. And if they want to be more engaged, that's fantastic. But a lot of them, at least in our state, they're happy to provide the samples for us, but they don't necessarily really want to attend a lot of meetings. They are very, very busy. They have a job already. And so that is keeping the amount of data that we are asking them to track and record for each sample to really the smallest number that we really need. Keeping things consistent as much as we can so that they don't have to learn new procedures frequently. And with communications, we try to keep it to sort of the minimum required. Really take a wide view of what you're asking of your utility partners and recognize that it is not nothing. I suspect everybody's had the experience where somebody else looks at what you're doing and says, well, that's not that much. Like, why can't you do better? When the reality is it's in fact a lot for a variety of reasons. Always recognize that that can be the case for what we're viewing too, and try to make things as easy and as simple as possible for them. Recognizing that you're really asking them what you want is not just short-term sort of emergency effort kind of thing. You want this for the long term. You want them to help you out and to partner with you indefinitely. And that means you need to make it possible and worth their while to do that. And so keeping things simple as you possibly can. Really take a wide view of what you're asking of your utility partner.